And so you have to create a neutrality or an equilibrium in a conflict. And that means being aggressive if they're going to be aggressive. And I don't mean it like face-to-face. I mean all through paperwork. The paperwork tells the story, not the emotional discharge when we get on the phone. The paperwork is the only real thing. So anyways, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write up a memo and send it to my union rep. And depending on her response, I may or may not send it to my manager's boss, which would basically cause a major shitstorm for him and for me. It would throw things, it would like throw the who knows what'll happen, but it's magic. This is actually, that's the thing about magic, is people don't realize that your words are the power. And if you're just going to do stupid content like Melinda French Gates, Bill Gates' wife, and just disgrace yourself with nonstop content about empowering women and giggling and laughing and being like a pretty little old woman who's not pretty and young anymore, but she's trying to act like a teenager. It's her Instagram reeks of she's not a mystic. She's been a mother and she's been kept in the dark. So now she's trying to play the role of a mystic on Instagram, and it's not working well. It doesn't look good. But anyways, I think what I'm saying is true. I think I do. I don't know if I should. That's the thing. It's like you could say it, but then you're like, oh, maybe I should just remain silent and say nothing. And that's the best course of action for everything. So I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy. Anyways, continuing on. One feels sure that one can walk a mile along a level road. One knows the conditions, and it would have to be a very extraordinary set of circumstances that would stop one. But though it would be equally fair to say I have climbed the Matterhorn and I know I can climb it again, yet there are all sorts of more or less probable circumstances, any one of which would prevent success. Now we do know this, that if thought is kept single and steady, dhyana results. We do not know whether an intensification of this is sufficient to cause samadhi or whether some other circumstances are required. One is science, the other empiricism. One author says, unless memory deceives, that 12-second steadiness is dharana, 144 dhyana, and 1728 samadhi. And Vivekananda, commenting on Patanjali, makes dhyana a mere prolongation of dharana, but says further, suppose I were meditating on a book, and I gradually succeeded in concentrating the mind on it, and perceiving only the internal sensation, the meaning unexpressed in any form. That state of dhyana is called samadhi. Other authors are inclined to suggest that samadhi results from meditating on subjects that are in themselves worthy. For example, Vivekananda says, think of any holy subject, and explains this as follows. This does not mean any wicked subject. Frater P. would not like to say definitely whether he ever got dhyana from common objects. He gave up the practice after a few months and meditated on the kakras. Also, his dhyana became so common that he gave up recording it. But if he wished to do it this minute, he would choose something to excite his godly fear or holy awe or wonderment. There is no apparent reason why dhyana should not occur when thinking of any common object of the seashore, such as a blue pig. But Frater P.'s constant reference to this as the usual object of his meditation need not be taken au pied de la lettre. His records of meditation contain no reference to this remarkable animal. It will be a good thing when organized research has determined the conditions of samadhi, but in the meantime, there seems no particular objection to our following tradition and using the same objects of meditation as our predecessors, with the single exception which we shall note in due course. Subnote 1 or 4. It is rather a breach of the skepticism which is the basis of our system to admit that anything can be in any way better than another. Do with us, A is a thing that B thinks holy. It is natural, therefore, for B to meditate on it. Get rid of the ego. Observe all your actions as if they were another's, and you will avoid 99% of the troubles that await you. The first class of objects for serious meditation, as opposed to preliminary practice, in which one should keep to simple recognizable objects whose definiteness is easy to maintain in various parts of the body. The Hindus have an elaborate system of anatomy and physiology which has apparently no reference to the facts of the dissecting room. Prominent in this class are the 7 chakras, which will be described in part 2. There are also various nerves, equally mythical. The second class is objects of devotion, such as the idea or form of the deity, or the heart or body of your teacher, or some man whom you respect profoundly. This practice is not to be commended because it implies a bias of the mind. You can also meditate on your dreams. This sounds superstitious, but the idea is that you have already a tendency, independent of your conscious will, to think of those things, which will consequently be easier to think of than others. That this is the explanation is evident from the nature of the preceding and subsequent classes. You can also meditate on anything that especially appeals to you. But in all this, one feels inclined to suggest that it will be better and more convincing if the meditation is directed to an object, which in itself, apparently unimportant. One does not want the mind to be excited in any way, even by adoration. See the 3 meditative methods in Liber Triple H Equinox 6. At the same time, one would not like to deny positively that it is very much easier to take some idea towards which the mind would naturally flow. The Hindus assert that the nature of the object determines the samadhi, that is, the nature of those lower samadhis which confer so-called magic powers. For example, there are the yoga pravriti, meditating on the tip of the nose. One obtains what may be called the ideal smell, that is, a smell which is not any particular smell, but is the archetypal smell, of which all actual smells are modifications. It is the smell which is not a smell. This is the only reasonable description, for the experience being contrary to reason, it is only reasonable that the words describing it should be contrary to reason too. Similarly, concentration on the tip of the tongue gives the ideal taste on the dorsum of the tongue, ideal contact. Every atom of the body comes into contact with every atom in the universe all at once. Is the description Bhikkhu Ananda Mateya gives of it. The root of the tongue gives the ideal sound, and the pharynx the ideal sight. The samadhi par excellence, however, is Atma Darshana, which for some and those not the least instructed is the first real samadhi, for even the visions of God and of the self are tainted by form. In Atma Darshana, the all is manifested as the one. It is the universe freed from its conditions. Some call it M-theory. Not only are all forms and ideas destroyed, but also those conceptions which are implicit in our ideas of those ideas. Each part of the universe has become the whole, and phenomena and noumena are no longer opposed. But it is quite impossible to describe this state of mind. One can only specify some of the characteristics, and that in language which forms no image in mind, it is impossible for anyone who experiences it to bring back any adequate memory, nor can we conceive a state transcending this. There is, however, a very much higher state called Shiva Darshana, of which it is only necessary to say that it is the destruction of the previous state, its annihilation. And to understand this blotting out, one must not imagine nothingness, the only name for it, as negative but as positive. The normal mind is a candle in a darkened room. Throw open the shutters and the sunlight makes the flame invisible. That is a fair image of dhyana. But the mind refuses to find a simile for Atmadarshana. It seems merely ineffective to say that the rushing together of all the host of heaven would similarly blot out the sunlight. But if we do say so and wish to form a further image of Shiva Darshana, we must imagine ourselves as suddenly recognizing that this universal blaze is darkness. Not a light extremely dim compared with some other light, but darkness itself. It is not a change from the minute to the vast, or even from the finite to the finite. It is the recognition that the positive is merely the negative. The ultimate truth is perceived not only as false, but as the logical contradictory of truth. It is quite useless to elaborate this theme, which has baffled all other minds hitherto. We have tried to say as little as possible rather than as much as possible. Still further from our present purpose would it be to criticize the innumerable discussions which have taken place as to whether this is the ultimate attainment or what it confers. It is enough to say, it is enough if we say that even the first and most transitory of jhana repays 1,000-fold the pains we have taken to attain it. And there is this anchor for the beginner, that his work is cumulative. Every act directed towards attainment builds up a destiny which must someday come to fruition. May all attain! Subnote. Here the dictation was interpreted by very prolonged thought due to the difficulty of making the image clear, Viracram. Yet all this has come of our desire to be as modest as Yajnavalkya. Okay, so I hope you have a deeper understanding of essentially meditation, or what I would call gnosis. I mean, that's what he's talking about with the Christian mystics. Okay, so this is the final piece I'm going to read. I hope you're enjoying this. Chris and Hermes. This is called The Evocation by Aleister Crowley. From the abyss, the horrible lone world of agony, more sharp than moonbeam strike, the shaking glacier, my bitter cry is hurled, as the avenger lightning, swiftly whirled, it flings in circles closing, serpent-like on the abominable devil horde, I summon to the mastery of the sword. In my white palace, where the flashing dawn leaps from the girdling bastions, where light flames from the talisman as if a fawn glowed through the thickets, where the soul withdrawn from every element gleams through the night into that darkness palpable, where they lurk from the torment of the light of day, swings the swift sword in paths of vivid blue, rings the sharp summons in the halls of fear, flames the great lamen as a fiery dew, falls the keen chanted music fierce and true. I'm looking at a theater from like the 1900s called Folly. Swings the sword in paths of vivid blue, rings the sharp summons in the halls of fear, flames the great lamen as a fiery dew, falls the keen chanted music fierce and true. Beams the bright diamond, the crowning sphere, none may withstand the summons like dead flame, flares darkness deeper and demands its name. Mine eyes peer deeper in the quivering gloom, what horrors crowd upon the aching sight, behold the phantom, icy as the tomb, his head of writhing scorpions in the womb, deadlier terrors how a charnel light gleams on his beetle frame, what poison drips of slime and blood from his disastrous lips, what oceans of decaying water steam for his vast essence, and a voice rolls forth with miserable fury from that stream of horror, thou hast called me by the beam of glory, by the devastating wrath of thine accursed Godhead, tell me then my name, thou hardiest of the sons of men. Thy name is stay, thou liest, I discern in thee no terror that my spells evoke, begone the wandering corpse of night, return into the shadowy world, my symbols burn, against thee shade of terror go, it spoke, yea, I am human, know my actual truth, I am that ghost, the father of thy youth. O wandering phantom, the exultant yell and wolfish howling of all the damned souls, peals from the ravening jaws and gulfs of hell, leaps that foul horror through the terrible extinguished circle of the burning bulls, then I remember fling the gleaming rod against him, liar, back, for I am God. Back flung the baffled corpse but through the air, looms the more startling vision in the night, the actual demon of my work is there. Where is the glittering circle? Where the radiant bows whose flame grows fiery bright? I am alone in the absolute abyss, no aid, no helper, no defense but this. My left hand seeks the lamen. Once again, fearless, I front the awful shape before me. Fearless, I speak his name. My trembling brain vibrates that word of power. I cry, Amen. Down, dweller of the darkness, and adore me. I am thy master and thy God. Behold, the rose of ruby and the cross of gold. I am thy Savior, that kindling word upsprings the dawn night, and the broken bowls upleaps the glittering circle. Then I heard a hoarse shrill voice, as if some carrion bird shrieked, mightier than the storm that rocks and rolls through desolation. Thou hast known my name. What is thy purpose, master of the flame? I made demand. Through long appalling hours stayed he to tempt and try my argument. Purpose. At last the legionary powers behind him sink, afraid his visage lowers. Less menacing, his head is turned aslant in vain. I bid him kneel and swear the earth rocked with the terror of that deadlier birth. He swore, he vanished. The wide sky resounds with echoing thunders. Through the blinding night the stars resume their courses. The bounds of the four watchtowers cry the waking hounds. The night is well. Slow steals the ambient light. Through all the borders of the universe, at that last lifting of my strenuous curse, slow steals the ambient light. White peace resumes in planet, element, and sign her sway. The twisted ether shapes itself, relooms the benediction, all the faded fumes. With holier incense, in the fervid wail, nature rests. With holy calm I blend, blessing and prayer at the appointed end. Okay, hope you enjoyed that reading. This has been a 40-minute meditation. God bless you, Chris. God bless you, Hermes, and I hope you have a fabulous day. Really enjoyed that. It's amazing how I've read that like maybe 2-3 times. I had no idea what it was really talking about, but now I have a better idea of what was happening there and what he's doing. So that's the thing. You could read something a couple times, but you're not even aware of what you're reading, because you're A, thinking of other things, or B, you're just not grasping what it's saying, or you can't visualize it. And I feel like that's, that's the thing about reading something out loud or trying to focus on something. It's like focusing, the foci, the focus, and the understanding or the knowledge of, sometimes it can take multiple times. And that's the amazing thing about reading a book multiple times, where you're like, God damn, how did I miss it? How did I miss it? And I've read it all these times. It's because you're thinking of something else and you're not focusing. So that's the thing, is how, when you read information, how do you really grasp it every time and not waste your time reading stuff that you can't obtain? So anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Rabbeinu Shalom. It is 7:57. I'm going to head to the airport in 45 minutes. God bless you again. I hope you enjoyed. This has been Thelema Hypnosis. This has been Thelema Hypnosis with Thelema Hypnosis Magic, Aleister Crowley. Thanks, Chris. I'm going to end this from now. This has been a hypnosiscommunication.com incorporated recording. God bless you. Health, wealth, love, and peace of mind. Farewell.
Almost everywhere. It wasn't just one specific.
Are you sure they were banned or suspended? They notified they were terminated?
A lot of their strikes and some were suspended for a couple of days.
Was there a room they were in that they were doing or something?
It's like, when I saw that, it was just very, it wasn't like one singular foci.
Right.
It was very distributed, yes.
So then you think it's management trying to crack down on offensive actors?
I think so, yeah.
But if that was true, they would well, that guy Prince, he always has a party hat. So some people, because of their personalities, could only last like a week. But whatever. That's the game of Clown House. So
also, you have these software applications where you can spin up as many phone numbers as you want every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like about $1 a year.
Oh. Yeah, and it didn't work for me, but maybe I didn't try hard enough.
That's right.
Well, I'm in Kansas City. I'm about to fly back to Chicago. I'm about to do some.
How did that work out? The furniture.
With the what?
The furniture that you're buying.
Oh, I still haven't been able to get it done, but I got my update in. So, but anyways, the territory manager is conducting a non-criminal investigation into my time and attendance. So, May 9th, I have a meeting, and hopefully, and my union rep is going to be there. But I'm pretty sure he's trying to fire me, and he's so full of shit. Like, everybody hates this guy. He's toxic, and the union president hates him. So that's a good thing. He's just an absolute. He says in his public speech, "I'm not trying to push you out." I should have recorded him. I really wish I could have recorded him, so I could have done detailed analysis of his inferiority complex. Yeah, recording people has its value. There is some kind of a magical operation in doing recordings.
Is there Chicago, is it too big?
I mean, consent, isn't that just a question of age?
No, consent, I agree to record this. So it's one-party consent.
Oh, I see.
So, or two-party consent, where the two agents on either side, they have to agree.
Have you ever heard a lawsuit of somebody being sued for making a recording?
No, you have that one guy who's taking down the whole entire LGBTQ, CRT, BLM sort of environment here at Washington, D.C. Location, right? And all the time he's recording conversations with potential gay lovers as he pretends to be gay himself. So, if that was a foreign international